The following program paid for by Lifespan Wealth Management. Providing financial advice since 1993. It's time for Your Money with Sherry Goss, Randy Goss, and Jonathan Eisner. And now from the Macon studios of News Talk 940 WMAC, it's Your Money.
Good morning, Middle Georgia, and thanks for tuning in to Your Money, produced by Lifespan Wealth Management. As financial advisors, the main thing we do is provide retirement planning advice and manage our clients' investment accounts. So if you're looking for an investment advisor, call our office at 478-922-8100 to set up your complimentary consultation.
Lifespan Wealth Management has offices in Macon and Warner Robins for your convenience and has been serving Middle Georgia for over 30 years. You can learn more about our services by visiting our website at retirerelax.com. And while you're on our site, go to the special reports section where you'll find several reports that are available to you for free. You can also sign up to receive our digital feeds, which are short videos providing great information relevant to retirement, investing, and matters that affect your money.
We also offer seminars to the community at no cost. So if you're in need of a guest speaker for your church or civic organization, give us a call, and together we can decide what topics you would like us to present to your group. Again, our contact number is 478-922-8100.
Good morning, Middle Georgia. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So, big announcement. The number one headline story this week, what was it? Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are getting married. That headline trumped about everything else that is going on in the world. Jonathan, do you get this?
I just love that right out of the gate, our number one announcement is that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are getting married.
Out of everything in the world.
Out of everything going on.
World hunger.
There's a lot of things
Ukraine
happening
war.
in the world, and this is number one. I've seen a lot of hate over the last year or two towards Travis and Taylor, and I mean, personally, I'm happy for them. It's not their fault that they get all the press. You know, it's two superstars that appear to have found love. So I just wish them all the best. I think it's great.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and the next biggest was about Cracker Barrel changing their logo and how people threw down on them so hard that they had to switch back to the old one.
I really don't get that, but I don't eat there either, so I must be missing something.
Well, I used to love their Big Country breakfast, and the kids did too. And then they changed the biscuit recipe, and that was they just lost me there.
That's funny.
Yeah, and you got to get the homemade biscuit taste and the texture if you want to sell the down home country vibe. And what do you think about that, Jonathan?
I agree with you. Sherry was talking this morning to us, and she was saying that the servings are too large. And I thought, well, that's a reason I like Cracker Barrel.
I know.
But from what I could tell, all the outrage was actually not just from the logo change, but because they wanted to change the inside of the store. And they wanted to completely modernize the feel of how it feels when you sit in there and eat. And I'm not sure if they're still going through with that part of it or not. Randy, you may know better. But
I don't think they're doing anything.
Okay, so they overhauled all of it.
Did you see the new logo?
I saw the new logo. That didn't bother me.
It was terrible.
It was, but, you know, I don't care about a logo. I care about the food.
I mean,
Right.
I could have given a 2-year-old a box of crayons
And they
and
could have
had
done
something better.
I know. I agree. I mean,
funny.
to me, part of the charm of Cracker Barrel is the vintage and rustic feel.
I bet they were going to get rid of all the rocking chairs on the front porch,
Oh,
too.
yeah, for sure. The checkerboard up there and all kinds of stuff. I think if they're going to make it modern like that, then they're going to lose a lot of that appeal, a lot of that charm that is what makes Cracker Barrel Cracker Barrel.
You know, to satisfy Sherry, they could keep the Big Country breakfast, but you had to do yoga and jumping jacks and stuff on the front
For
porch.
sure. Or they could charge the same prices and give you half as much food.
There
And then
you go.
Sherry would be okay with that.
And they had to deposit some of that into a 401k as they left. You know?
Perfect.
How's that?
That sounds
It's a
great.
win-win.
Yes.
All right. We wanted to make you aware of several events in our area, and please consider sharing this with your family and friends. All right. On September 19th, there's a Tee-Off for Alzheimer's Classic presented by the Visiting Angels and sponsored by several generous people around the area. The 4-person scramble will take place at the Southern Landings Golf Club with an 8 o'clock shotgun start. First place is $800 in cash, and second place is $600, and third place is $400. And you can go to mercylinkfund.org. That's mercylinkfund.org to sign up. This is probably the best time of the year to go out and golf. The weather is just beautiful, and these scrambles are a lot of fun, especially if you have a group of friends that like to joke around and cut up. And not take it too serious unless you're after that $800. Also, on September 19th, Tidal Wave Car Wash is hosting a fundraiser for Alzheimer's. Yes, it's the same day as a tee-off for Alzheimer's golf tournament, but the hours are 8 to 8, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So this will allow you to do both if you choose to do so. So stop by the Tidal Wave on Lake Joy after the golf tournament and have your vehicle washed. They say they'll always need and appreciate volunteers as well. So if you're interested in volunteering, you should either email, run to end Alzheimer's, that's run with the number 2, end ALZ at gmail.com, or email John. Text, email or text John at 478-319-9228. And you can, he needs people to contact John so he can add them to the schedule, and he would prefer for people to sign up for at least for 1 hour shifts. That's just for scheduling. And also, if they can only afford to do 30 minutes, they will make that work. And FYI, they don't typically wash vehicles, since Tidal Wave has several employees who will do this for special occasions, but what you'll be doing primarily is collecting tips and passing out water and making people aware of what the Alzheimer's Foundation is really all about. And it'd be great if they could get a whole bunch of people to help them out on this. Again, they can email run, the number 2, end ALZ at gmail.com, or text John at 478-319-9228. And the last thing is, on October 25th, the walk to end Alzheimer's Central Georgia is taking place. This is an annual event hosted by the Alzheimer's Association and will occur at the Middle Georgia State University at 100 University Parkway in Macon. Registration check-in starts at 9 a.m., followed by opening ceremonies at 9:30, and the actual walk will start at 10 a.m. For more details, go to Walk to End Alzheimer's Central Georgia, or contact Christy Touchton at 478-746-7473, or K.R. Touchton at alz.org. And I hope that a whole bunch of people go out and support all of these very worthwhile events.
If you're listening to this and you're interested in this information, you didn't have a chance to write it down, just email Randy at rfmoney.com, and he can send you this whole article.
Well,
okay?
we are going to get all of these posted to our website as well, and we are going to be sending out some items through our Facebook page.
Oh, good.
On each one of these. So
super.
We'll get Corey on that.
Okay.
Now, here, Corey.
So, good news from the Coast Guard. The crew of Hamilton, who have been on the ship for over the last 2 months, put themselves in harm's way time and time again to stop the bad guys, apprehend the smugglers, and seize the drugs. This is grueling and dangerous work, and I'm extremely proud of them. Chamey, Coast Guard rep, said. He added that they also had international assistance, explaining that the Royal Netherlands Navy and the crew of HNLMS Friesland took part. By the way, HNLMS is the abbreviation for His/Her Netherlands Majesty ship. Chamey said the crews interdicted a total of 61,740 pounds of cocaine and 14,400 pounds of bulk marijuana, a staggering 473 million in illegal narcotics before they could reach the shores of the U.S. To truly understand the significance of this offload, consider this. The 61,740 pounds of cocaine represents 23 million potentially lethal doses. That's enough to fatally overdose the entire population of the state of Florida. Think about that.
Yeah, that's the immense scale of the threat that they face. But think about the threat faced by the Coast Guard each and every day while carrying out their interdiction duties. They have superior firepower and the rules of engagement, but the drug cartels don't. They face some really nasty guys out
horrible.
there. It's just crazy.
Anyway,
For sure.
So good for them.
All right, a little bit of good news for Georgia. Hyundai boosts the U.S. investments to $26 billion through the year 2028. Hyundai announced their plan to boost vehicle production capacity, fund construction of a steel plant in Louisiana, and build a new robotics facility, the company announced in a recent press release. The new commitment is $5 billion higher than the $21 billion that the automaker announced in March, and will expand Hyundai's domestic supply chains in response to American market demand. The massive investment is expected to create about 25,000 jobs by 2028, and will also help the automaker avoid U.S. import tariffs by increasing domestic manufacturing. With increased production capacity, Hyundai and its sister company Kia can better meet the evolving needs of American consumers. Hyundai and Kia currently operate 3 U.S. production facilities: Hyundai Motor Manufacturing Alabama, established in 2005, the new Metaplant America Electric Vehicle Factory in Georgia, which began in late 2024, and the Kia Georgia plant, which began producing vehicles in 2009.
This is great for Georgia.
Yes, it is.
And this is interesting, as I only saw this in the New York Times. New Medicare changes in 2026, prior approval required for these 17 services. So beginning January 1, 2026, certain medical procedures under traditional Medicare will require prior authorization in 6 U.S. states. This means your healthcare provider must obtain approval for Medicare before performing specific services. Otherwise, coverage may be denied. The change is part of a pilot initiative called WISER, Wasteful and Inappropriate Service Reduction, which is designed to curb medical overuse and detect potential fraud. As of now, Georgia is not on the list. But just be aware, this is probably headed our way.
Yep. Next up, Trump tariffs. Tariffs are increasingly forcing countries to pick sides between the U.S. or China. It's a theme that's been evident for months and has been on heightened display this week, with headlines from India to Mexico underscoring the nations are not necessarily destined to choose the U.S. for their manufacturing projects. On one side is India, which is now facing 50% U.S. tariffs on an array of goods. Those duties are set to be felt in everything from textiles to solar panels, in part due to the country's continued purchases of Russian oil. But a U.S. pressure campaign to stop those purchases has, for now at least, clearly pushed India toward U.S. adversaries. Not only do India's imports of Russian oil appear to set to continue, they're even likely to rise in September. This is according to Reuters. And Indian Prime Minister Modi is preparing for a high-profile visit to China later this week. On the other side of the spectrum this week is Mexico. America's southern neighbor is eyeing new tariffs on China that would distance it from Asia. It's a possible move that would deepen ties to the U.S. ahead of high-stakes negotiations coming next year on renewing the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA. Bloomberg News is reporting that the Mexican government plans to formally unveil these new China tariffs next month and could focus on imports such as cars, textiles, and plastics as part of a 2026 budget proposal.
Yeah, the tariff increase may also target other Asian countries. As Capital Economics noted, it is evidence of a top Trump priority in getting Mexico to help keep China out of U.S. supply chains. It is also evident of how America's southern neighbor appear particularly susceptible to U.S. pressure to put tariffs on China, given its dependence on U.S. final demand. But India appears headed in the opposite direction. Syracuse University professor of economics Devashish Mitra said this week that India's ties with China could deepen in the months ahead, and perhaps even open the possibility that it joins the China-led Asian Free Trade Agreement.
Earlier this week, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that the Indian team began negotiations early and that he thought India could be one of the earlier deals, but they kind of strung us along in terms of the negotiations. But Bessent predicted that at the end of the day, he believes we will come together on plenty of points of negotiations to come over things like Apple iPhones and generic drugs, both of which are currently excluded from the 50% tariffs, and with Trump proposing sector-specific tariffs on both fronts in the months ahead. So, just FYI, from Monday's news, Intel's deal with the U.S. worth $8.89 billion comes with a catch. Investors beware. The U.S. government is free to sell its new Intel stake in a year, which would weigh heavily on the company's market value. The U.S. could take further stakes in companies like its equity investment in Intel, according to a White House economic advisor. Kevin Hassett, President Trump's National Economic Council director, said that further deals could form part of Trump's plan to set up a U.S. sovereign wealth fund.
Yeah, I don't necessarily like our government taking stakes in our public or private corporations, but you may not realize what Trump is doing is not new. That is taking stakes in private industries. Currently, the U.S. government owns 30 to 40 such entities, either wholly or in part. Some of the more notable names are Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, Unicor, which is the federal prison industries, National Flood Insurance Program, the TVA, which is the Tennessee Valley Authority, USPS, and Amtrak, and there's a lot more. Some of these services, as we view as vital. Excuse me. Some of these are services we view as vital, and without them, the services and stability we enjoy would be in jeopardy. And even with the government's intervention, some still struggle. The government owns a minority stake in a few private entities such as Intel and MP Materials. And other companies noted in the news lately are under consideration or are involved in similar strategies. They're NVIDIA, US Steel, and AMD, which are probably being considered for national security reasons. But if the revenue is going to be used to fund a sovereign wealth fund, I might like it a little bit better. But what is a sovereign wealth fund? A sovereign wealth fund is a state-owned investment fund that manages a country's financial assets, typically derived from a surplus revenues such as commodity exports, foreign exchange reserves, or budget surpluses. And I don't think we've seen those in a while. These funds are designed to invest in various assets, including stocks, bonds, real estate, and alternative investments, with the goal of benefiting future generations and stabilizing the economy.
Yep. Switching gears, ratings agency S&P Global had some good news and some bad news on the U.S. deficit outlook. The good news is that it won't get much worse. The bad news is that it also isn't going to get much better. A key factor for the deficit forecast is President Donald Trump's tariffs, which should help offset the impact of tax cuts and spending in the federal budget. S&P reaffirmed its AA+ rating on U.S. debt last week, citing the overall strength of the economy. Institutions that provide effective checks and balances, proactive monetary policy, and the dollar's status as the world's top reserve currency. The outlook on the credit rating, which is just one notch below the top AAA grade, remains stable because the deficit won't muddy the picture. S&P actually sees some improvement in the deficit, which is expected to shrink to 6% of GDP from 2025 to 2028, down from 7.5% in 2024 and an average of 9.8% from 2020 to 2023. Meanwhile, S&P sees GDP growth accelerating to an average pace of 2% in 2027 and 2028, from 1.7% in 2025 and 1.6% in 2026. The combined implementation and execution of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, higher tariff revenue gains, and their effect on growth and investment will inform whether the fiscal trajectory improves or worsens, according to S&P. So a lot is riding on tariffs. And given Washington's reluctance to raise revenue via income tax hikes, analysts have pointed out an estimated $300 to $400 billion a year in tariff revenue would be too much to turn away, meaning levies are likely here to stay. But so-called reciprocal tariffs are facing legal challenges that dispute their legal justification under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, the IEEPA. A decision from a federal appeals court is expected by the end of September, but could come as soon as late August.
Yep. All right. Are you apprehensive about the leap into full-time or full-time traditional retirement, or do you find yourself needing a more substantial financial cushion and a bit more planning before taking that step? One of the most effective ways to mitigate financial risk and maintain engagement is through part-time retirement. This flexible approach can help you ease into the next stage of life. Traditional retirement marks one of the most significant transitions. For decades, your routine likely revolves around a daily grind, waking early, commuting to work a full day, and returning home 5 days a week. Retirement disrupts structure and purpose provided by the routine, posing challenges for many in adjusting to a new lifestyle. I recommend challenging the common perception that retirement is an all-or-nothing event. Enter the part-time retirement, a gradual transition from full-time employment to full-time retirement over months or even years. Research indicates that between 10 and 20% of retirees continue to work in some capacity, often driven by financial consideration. However, even if you are financially strong, part-time retirement offers many non-financial benefits.
So I met with a client that is doing this now. She is in the same business that I was in for years, group insurance. She has stepped back, still does some enrollments, but is not out there beating the bushes trying to find new clients. She works a few days a week and can work in a vacation very easily. She's taking good care of herself and enjoying life while still maintaining cash flow. I would like to see more people be able to have this option, as going from working hard all week to not working at all is pretty difficult in a lot of cases.
I agree. Many financially successful people have opted for part-time retirement despite having the means to fully retire. They recognize the advantages of staying active and involved, thereby strengthening their financial position while maintaining a sense of purpose beyond their career. Here are just some of the potential benefits of part-time retirement. 1, additional income. Even part-time work can significantly impact your finances, potentially covering living expenses and reducing reliance on retirement savings, allowing them to grow further. Number 2 is health insurance. Some part-time positions offer continued access to employer-paid health insurance, alleviating one of retirement's most expensive endeavors. 3, delayed Social Security benefits. Delaying Social Security can increase monthly benefits, making part-time work a strategic choice for maximizing retirement income. 4, contribution opportunities. Part-time work allows continued contributions to retirement accounts like 401ks and IRAs, for example, potentially increasing tax advantage savings beyond what's possible in full retirement. And last, health benefits. Research suggests part-time work correlates with improved mental and physical health, enhancing overall well-being in retirement.
It also provides a sense of purpose and structure. One of the hardest challenges for some retirees is struggling with the feeling of emptiness. In their working years, they felt like they were doing something important and that people counted on them. They felt valued and needed. That's hard to give up, and some retirees struggle with this. If you sense this could be a problem for you, a part-time retirement can make a transition more smoother and give you just enough time to develop hobbies and a sense of purpose outside of work.
Agree. So next up, staying engaged with people. This is the big one for me. The abrupt transition from work to retirement can be tough if your social network is closely tied to your work. By continuing to work part-time, you get to stay socially engaged while growing your relationships outside of work in advance of retirement. Next, ability time to time joint retirement with a spouse. Research shows that it is often ideal when both spouses retire together. This can be more easily accomplished if a spouse who wants to cut back shifts to part-time work, while the other who still wants or needs to continue working does so for a few more years. Retirement doesn't have to be a cliff you leap off. It can be a bridge you build. Part-time retirement offers a way to ease into your next chapter on your terms, combining the benefits of continued income, purpose, and flexibility. It's not about delaying retirement, it's about redefining it. I hope that companies make this a trend, as people need more time to transition, and I know that I will.
Yep.
Seriously.
Agree. All right, we wanted to share some tips about protecting your data, as data theft is a lot worse than you realize. And this data comes from the IRS website. And with worries about identity theft on the rise, the IRS is encouraging all taxpayers to consider getting an identity protection PIN, otherwise known as an IP PIN, PIN, for the upcoming tax filing season. An IP PIN is a 6-digit number that helps prevent thieves from filing federal tax returns in your name. The IP PIN is a voluntary program open to any taxpayer who can verify their identity. We have discussed this before, and you will probably hear us remind you of this before the end of the year, because this is one of the better ways to protect yourselves from IRS data theft. The fastest way to receive an IP PIN is to request one through your online account with the IRS. If you don't already have an account on the IRS.gov, you need to create one. The IP PIN is generally available in your online account from mid-January to mid-November, so you still have time to get it before the tax season kicks off. Once you have opted in, you will need to use it each year when filing any federal tax returns, including prior year returns. You'll find it in your online account through the profile tab. An IP PIN is valid for 1 calendar year or multiple years. You can make that option when you're in the site. A new IP is generated each year for your account. So go to IRS.gov and type in ID me, and it will take you to the instructions. And if you use the tax preparer, ask them how they can protect your return and your data. So it's a very important thing. Please don't delay, because this is only getting worse.
You've been listening to Your Money, brought to you by Lifespan Wealth Management, proudly serving Middle Georgia for over 30 years. Our mission? Helping folks just like you plan for a secure and stress-free retirement. Need a trusted financial advisor? Call us today at 478-922-8100 and schedule your complimentary consultation at our Macon or Warner Robins office. Want to learn more? Visit us anytime at retirerelax.com. Because when you plan smart, you can retire and relax. And here's something extra. We offer free educational seminars for the community. If your group needs a guest speaker, give us a call and let's make it happen. That's 478-922-8100. Now, let's get back to the show.
So next up, this is very important. Cyber criminals use AI to create fake websites that look just like the real thing. When Jo-Ann Fabrics filed for bankruptcy for the second time within a year this January, scammers seized the opportunity. Within days, a flurry of imposter websites appeared with URLs like JoannLosAngeles.com or JoannClosingOnSale.shop or JoannDiscount.shop, all designed to look nearly identical to the retailer's legitimate site. The Jo-Ann scam sites, which use the company's name, branding, and product images, pretended to offer merchandise at deep discounts with the aim of stealing shoppers' credit card information and personal data. Customers who placed orders on these fake sites never received products but had their payment information compromised. The whole look and feel of the website was very similar to the real website, says Melanie McGovern, Director of Public Relations and Social Media for the Better Business Bureau. If you're on your mobile phone, you're not looking at the URL when you click on an ad or a link in an email that says shop here.
Yeah, it's getting very scary. Scammers are creating realistic fake websites that look identical to the originals, imitating everything from well-known retailers like Amazon and PayPal to toll collection agencies, employment portals, and financial institutions.
So how many of those toll things have you had on your phone so far?
Oh, geez.
A lot.
A lot.
And I've not been on the toll road. I mean, you just got to stop and think, like, do I really owe this money? It's nuts.
But, like they just pointed out, when you're on your cell phone, it's very hard to look at the URL to validate it.
Where, yes.
So if you're going to put your credit card on something, wait until you get to your home and at a regular laptop or a desktop.
Yes, absolutely.
Such scams have been growing for years, but some cybersecurity experts worry that a new development will supercharge them. AI tools that enable criminals with limited technical skills to create nearly perfect replicas of legitimate sites in just minutes. Randy, you and I were talking about this yesterday.
Yep.
And you were saying you're not trying to obviously hack anybody or be a criminal, but
I when I read this article, I was just like, well, what would it take? And so I went to one of the AI engines that I have on my phone, and I said, create me a website to sell woodworking products. I said I wanted to have 4 photos. I wanted to sell no more than 3 items, and I just gave it some criteria. 30 seconds later, it said, first of all, it said, I can't create a Facebook thing for you, but I can tell you how to do it. And it gave me all the steps, and then it wrote the code for me.
Made it very user-friendly.
Very easy.
Very easy, which is scary. And the process is simple. Attackers buy an AI-powered tool on a criminal marketplace or a dark web forum. They feed in the URL of a legitimate website, and the AI-powered tools instantly scrape the real page, clone its look and feel, and add fake forms designed to capture personal or financial details. Scammers can tweak the pages, translate them into multiple languages, and deploy them, often in minutes.
Yep.
to Randy's point, without writing a single line of code themselves.
Yeah, anymore you don't have to be a coder as long as you know
Right.
as long as you can read instructions from the AI engine.
Yep.
Anyway, Joann Fabrics was aware of the fake sites and Facebook ads and warned customers that Joann.com was the only legitimate website that they should use to use their products. It also urged anyone who made purchases through the fake sites to dispute the charges with their financial institution. It isn't clear whether the Joann imposter sites were created with the help of AI, but Netcraft has identified nearly 100,000 domains. Let that sink in for a second. That were created with the help of AI, with illicit tools created by AI, impersonating 194 different brands across 68 countries. These fake sites accounted for about 7% of all phishing activity online, which is phenomenal. In a bad way.
Right.
The tools allow scammers to go after brands that previously weren't big enough for target to amount for any effort it would take to create the fake site. While Duncan says major companies have sophisticated systems to detect and take down imposter sites quickly, smaller businesses often lack these resources.
The big enterprises, the very large brand recognizable names, expect this, says James Lee, president of the Identity Theft Resource Center, a nonprofit that helps victims of identity theft. But it's small and medium businesses, really, any business today, that are now targets for cyber fraud, he says. Text messages purported to be from legitimate companies known as smishing are a preferred way to lure victims to imposter sites, allowing attackers to bypass spam filters and reach people with a more personal, immediate way, says Tim Davis, lead cyber threat intelligence analyst at the Center for Internet Security. Messages might claim to come from toll services, package delivery companies, or employers, and include links to sites with shortened URLs that hide their true destination.
Another one I was telling you about yesterday when we were talking was Georgia Natural Gas.
Yes.
Right? So be aware, and I don't know for sure if it was a scam, but it was an email I received. We're customers of Georgia Natural Gas at my house, and so I pay that bill. And so I thought, okay, this is great. They're sending me an email saying, hey, now we have an app that you can get on. It's user friendly. You can pay your bills, etc. So I clicked the link. I told you, Randy, that there was a link to the Apple Store and the Google Store for if you're an Android user. And so I clicked the Apple Link Store, and fortunately, the browser that I was using blocked the site that it tried to take me to.
Did it say it was a dangerous site?
It said something to the effect of, I don't remember if it didn't say it was dangerous, but it said that, protections are in place where we can't allow this or something to that effect. And I was grateful, but I went back and looked at the email that it came from, and it was one of these spin-off. It wasn't GeorgiaNaturalGas.com. It was some kind of spin-off where it had a word at the end or something like that. And so I think it was scammy, but be careful if you get something from Georgia Natural Gas claiming that they have an app that you can use now.
Yep.
Here's a few ways that you can protect yourself. We talk about this stuff all the time, but I don't think you can say this too much.
Right, I agree.
While spotting fake websites is getting very difficult, cybersecurity experts say that there are some things consumers can do. Instead of clicking on links to websites in text messages and emails, like I did, navigate to the company's official website by typing the address directly. Study web addresses carefully. Scammers often add terms at the end of the legitimate domains, such as Kmart-jobs.com or Amazon-sale.net, instead of official Kmart.com or Amazon.com. Also, watch for subtle misspellings or substitutions in URLs, such as a 1 instead of an I, or Randy, you pointed this one out when we were talking, a 0 instead of the letter O. Be cautious when navigating to websites on a mobile phone, because as we were saying, it's harder to spot a suspicious URL on the small screen. Don't count on spelling mistakes or grammar errors in phishing emails or web pages to alert you to a fake site. While that used to be helpful, AI-generated content now produces flawless text, making this detection method pretty obsolete. And if something feels suspicious, such as urgent language demanding immediate action, requests for unusual personal information, or deals that seem too good to be true, like the one I told you guys a few months ago where Katie thought we were going to be getting a free Yeti cooler, if you remember that one.
Yep.
Stop engagement immediately. Report to site authorities, the site to authorities like the BBB or FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center.
And if you receive an email from someone you don't know, delete it.
You're under no obligation to respond to all the emails that you get. And if you're like us, we get probably 200 emails a day per person here, so it can become overwhelming, and you can let your guard down very easy. All right, moving on though. Higher education has a lot to learn about data breaches. According to public filings from the Columbia University, 868,969 people had their personal information compromised. The compromised information included names, social security numbers, birthdays, and much more information that can readily lead to identity theft. The number of people affected may seem high considering the fact that Columbia only employs about 20,000 people and has an enrollment of approximately 35,000 students. This discrepancy is due to the fact that Columbia kept sensitive personal information on both current and former students as well as applicants, including people who never were accepted to attend Columbia. Data breaches at colleges and universities are common. In at least 20 years, American educational institutions experienced 3,173 data breaches compromising more than 37.6 million records. Colleges and universities present the perfect storm for data breaches as they maintain both vast amounts of valuable intellectual property and research data, as well as large amounts of sensitive personal information sought by corporate spies, foreign governments, identity thieves, and ransomware gangs.
Couple this with often outdated computer security systems and open the decentralized networks, and you have a recipe for disaster. The extensive use of the Internet of Things devices also opens a new area of vulnerability exploitable by sophisticated hackers. Basic steps to protect such sensitive data, such as encryption and requirement of dual-factor authentication, are often not taken. In addition, many schools do not have sufficient security programs in place to limit access to personal information, which the universities keep in their computers long after it is necessary to be kept, such as social security numbers for students who have long since graduated or any information about applicants who were never even admitted. Colleges and universities must make a greater commitment to data security. Data breach prevention systems should be implemented that include but not be limited to updated firewalls, limited access to personal information, purging of unnecessary information, dual-factor authentication, and encryption. So here's something you can do. Freeze your credit.
Amen.
This week I did this, and it took me about 20 minutes for all three credit bureaus. They have really streamlined the process. I logged into Experian.com first, and they had my username and password already. You click to freeze it, then you can go look at your credit report. All you have to have is a username and password and a way for them to send you a text message to make sure you are who you say you are. Equifax and TransUnion were just as easy. Just remember to write down your usernames and passwords and store them in a safe place, and write down your credit score for each. And if you need to improve these, the sites provide a lot of advice to do that.
Yep.
And before you go on here, Jonathan, if you go to a doctor that you're paying cash, or some institution you're paying cash, like say a chiropractor, like I went to this week, and they don't need your social security number, don't provide it.
Because they're not making a claim.
They're not making a claim.
You're paying cash.
Think about the data you're providing and be very selective about what you provide. If they say, I really need this, just challenge them and say, I don't think you do, and make them prove why. So, be very careful about the data that you give out.
For sure.
Agreed.
All right. Monroe County to gain $500,000 in taxes from the new Stellantis Center. Just off Rumble Road in Forsyth, heavy machinery signals the beginning of what Monroe County officials hope will be a significant economic boost. Stellantis, the automotive giant behind Dodge, Chrysler, and Jeep, is building a $41 million distribution center next to the Five Below warehouse and distribution center. You can bet the local area there will feel the impact of this investment in their community.
Now, I believe that's going to be the exit where Buc-ee's is being built too.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Wow. What a huge boost to that,
right. I believe that's
general
right.
vicinity. The investment will be about $41 million, as we mentioned, and will employ about 90 people who will mostly be working with robotics. The facility will have 66 robots taking part on and off the shelf. Besides jobs and robots, they expect the center to bring in just under $500,000 annually in tax revenue.
That's amazing.
It is. He says that money will help keep taxes low and help keep the county schools in top shape. Once the facility comes online, it will have a low impact on the community as far as infrastructure goes, but it will drive revenue into the community and help reduce the tax burden and improve the existing services the county already has in place. Anthony Fiorito, Director of Supply Chain Engineering for Parts and Services for Stellantis, wants people to know the center will do more than bring jobs. He says it will bring an economic boost to the whole county. Fiorito says it's important for us to make sure that we're harmonizing our presence with the community and not disrupting it. We want to respect all the laws and codes. We're going to help to drive economic growth. Monroe County officials expect the center to open in early 2027.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And here's another great thing. Textile manufacturing is returning to Sandersville after nearly 30 years with Rally Apparel opening. After nearly 3 decades, the textile industry is making a comeback in the central Georgia city, bringing new life to a building that once housed a bustling manufacturing operation. Rally Apparel officially opened its doors to the public with a ribbon-cutting ceremony marking the return of a textile manufacturing to Sandersville in Washington County. The company operating out of a facility previously housed Royal Manufacturing, which closed in the 1990s, along with numerous other textile mills that moved operations overseas. For Becky Broussard, the reopening represents a full circle movement. She worked in the same building nearly 30 years ago when it was Royal Manufacturing. She and a lot of other people that worked here at that time put out a lot of T-shirts before the jobs were outsourced to the Far East. The closure of the textile mills in the 1990s devastated many communities like Sandersville as companies moved the productions abroad in search of lower labor costs.
Yep. Zeke Chapman, a Sandersville native who's involved in the new operation, said returning manufacturing to the building holds special significance for his family. Both of his great-grandmothers lived in and worked in this community and in the very building that they will be reopening. The new company emphasizes its commitment to local production. Sorry, we just had the power flicker. The new company emphasizes its commitment to local production, noting that everything is grown and made in Georgia to support rural communities. They want to support the state of Georgia as much as they can. They want to support local and rural communities. Chapman says we oftentimes get forgotten in the grand scheme of things, and so we really want to be able to do our best to support the people around us and the people that support us. Rally Apparel handles the complete manufacturing process in-house, including sewing, dyeing, and printing everything from shirts to sports team uniforms. Very cool, and we wish them the very best of luck.
Yep.
If you happen to see their brand, give them a try.
Yeah, I love that.
Yep. All right, this is fun. Some of America's least handy homeowners are learning to use power tools, testing their physical and mental limits to save a buck. Okay, this article spoke to me, so I had to bring it to the show. Mira didn't want to pay a contractor $10,000 to turn the smelly, mice-ridden chicken coop in her backyard into an office for her husband. I think she was just trying to get her husband out of the house. So she did what many people do. She tackled it herself. She checked out an electrical wiring manual from the library and got to work. I think that's probably probably the worst place to start is with an electrical manual if she didn't know how to do anything.
Yep.
The abandoned coop had plenty of old hay, mice nests, but it lacked insulation and windows. Kepler was soon cutting holes and installing light fixtures. In Mural's rural corner of Oregon and across the country, hiring a contractor is getting so expensive that some of America's least handy homeowners are learning to use power tools, and more on that in just a second. They are spending their days on YouTube, studying local permitting laws, and scouring Reddit. Hyperactive do-it-yourselfer forums and RDIY, whose membership now exceeds the population of Australia. That means more people are buying the wrong tools and fixture and materials, failing inspections, and testing their physical and emotional limits. Kepler hit rock bottom when she found herself picking at a layer of mud, chicken droppings, feathers, and spider webs stuck to the coop floor while her 5-month-old child napped. That was probably like salt in the wound, really. More than half of the homeowners are undertaking home improvements themselves with non-paid help, and DIY rates at their highest rates have been in several years, according to Farnsworth Group, a home improvement research firm.
You guys have heard me joke about it over the years at my house.
Yep, and I still need to come fix your doors.
Yeah. I think we ended up paying somebody because you never came.
See, I knew that would work.
Yeah, right. At my house, power tools aren't getting used. It's either we're finding the money to pay somebody or it just doesn't ever get done. So I'm not going to be DIYing anything over at my place. But novices are encountering both triumph and disaster. In one example, Darren, who lives in a mobile home in Illinois, wanted to tear down a small closet to create more living space. He took a crowbar to the closet's drywall, bought a saw, and got to work installing a new wall-mounted storage unit out of wooden boards. It was raining that day, so when he heard creaking, he assumed it was the sound of the drizzle outdoors. Then his whole installation came crashing to the floor. Oh, he recalled thinking, that was not rain. In another story, when Russell was taking on a double-car garage project, the contractor arrived at his home in a Maserati, sporting a Cartier bracelet. If that wasn't the deal breaker, the quote itself was nearly $70,000. So the 33-year-old decided to cut out the middleman. He still hired a plumber and an electrician, but assumed the role of general contractor himself. The plumber Schaefer was supervising failed. Schaefer is Russell. He was supervising him, and he failed an inspection due to a water leak. Despite a few hiccups, he likes the savings and sense of pride that come from taking on a job. For now and the foreseeable future, I have much more time than money, according to Russell. In another example, Jeffrey moved into a century-old house in Virginia last year and stared down a mountain of tasks. Removing trees, installing a paver patio, tilling the lawn, washing the fence, list goes on and on. The 44-year-old grant manager didn't have the money to hire somebody or the knowledge to do it himself, so he started asking ChatGPT. Jeffrey said he's probably spoken to, more to language learning models in the last 2 months than to some of his friends. It wasn't a smooth start. He got the wrong size bricks for his paver patio and the wrong tools to cut them. It was an arduous 2-month process, but he was pleased with the results.
So back in Oregon, Mira's forged ahead on the chicken coop conversion. She found large windows at a store in Portland, but she struggled to fix them to the coop's walls. For weeks after she put the baby to bed, she would spend hours watching YouTube videos and studying the technical specifications of window manufacturers, strategizing a waterproof design for the installation. Soon she was playing with the electric. At the library with her child one afternoon, Kepler spotted Black & Decker's electrical wiring manual. This is what I need, she thought. She failed the first permitting inspection and the second one too. I tend to have a certain overconfidence, she admitted. Meanwhile, she was learning and saving thousands of dollars. Little by little, the coop started to look more like a home office, and with each small feat, she felt a sense of pride. I'm actually succeeding at this and making it interesting and functional and a beautiful thing. This reminds me of the first fixer-upper house Randy and I bought in Jonesboro, Georgia for $10,000 and a monthly payment of $109. It was a VA assumable loan. The windows were broken out, the floor was not level, the bathtub was sinking, and the real kicker, the back room had a big piece of plywood on the floor with a 2-inch rotted circle in the middle, and we didn't look under it. Oh, and we had a 1 and a 3-year-old. Randy had separated from the military to finish his degree, and this home was close to his parents, so it looked like the perfect deal. Randy, tell the rest of the story.
Okay. Well, we went to closing, and the seller said many times, let's go by the house as I need to show you the well. Well, I'd seen this round concrete thing out behind the shed. I'm thinking to myself, I know where the well's at. Well, the crazy old kook got in his car and headed to Florida, and we never saw him again after closing. So we get to the house, and we go in, and we're like, okay, this is going to need some work, but we're happy with it. So we go to the back of the house, and the roof was wet. All the walls were wet. And we're thinking, oh, boy. And then we both looked at the little hole in that piece of plywood, and we think, oh, no. This has got to be where the water's coming from. So we got the crowbar and the hammer, and we pried that thing up, and there was a 4-foot hole there. And the only thing the plumber that came, or the well guy that came out, said, this is the problem. This thing surges
Like a geyser.
like a geyser. So we had our own little Yellowstone geyser there. Unfortunately,
But it was an actual well that was supplying water to the home?
no,
Or-
it was
No,
actually
it was
not
inside the
They had
house.
dug the thing, and then they put it. It was inside the house. They built the thing over the back of it, and then unfortunately it surged, and they capped it. Tried to cap it with a piece of plywood, and that eventually rotted through. And
I mean, it
but
would surge so fast. It was like hit the ceiling and the walls like a whoosh,
Yeah.
like that.
Really?
This is why they
Yes.
moved out of the place,
Right.
and then they put it up for sale.
Yes.
But anyway, it was non-potable, so we had to have it capped. So anyway,
So
and
we spent months of hauling
Gravel,
junk and gravel,
gravel.
and bricks and rock and
Yeah.
throwing it down that hole.
In-
Every night we had a challenge when we got home from work of how many wheelbarrows we could get in the hole.
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, the grass, when we bought the place, the grass was chest high. The whole thing was a wreck. But for the price that we paid for it and the minimal amount that we had to put back into it, we were living on the cheap, if you really know what I mean. So we ended up making, in a 2-year period, about maybe $45,000 on
When
it.
we sold it.
And we sold it. So, and that was the start of us flipping 12 houses. And it was,
it's addicting.
and it's just really a lot of fun, quite honestly. But I was lucky. We were lucky. I had a dad who could do everything.
I was going to say, how'd you
Yeah.
guys do it? You didn't have Chat GPT.
We had Chat Dad,
Right.
So
Right.
we Dad came over and he helped us.
the electrical.
He
plumbing.
taught me electrical. He taught me plumbing. He taught me how to restructure a roof, because the roof on the back of it was literally about one good storm from blowing away.
Oh, and the whole floors were uneven.
They were
you had
uneven.
to crawl under there and put in
Yeah,
stuff.
we had to restructure the kitchen, the bathroom. We had to jack the tub up and put redo everything there. There was so much we had to do.
But we learned a ton.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that first house, we had to install HVAC, some new windows. I mean, it was a lot. I mean, but
Sounds like it.
But getting things on the cheap, knowing how to go and get not brand new stuff, but stuff that was completely functional, to bring that house back up to a very good standard, and then be able to sell it, was just a wonderful thing. And it was great.
It was actually fun turning a dump into a normal house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We really
Sounds
had a
like
good time doing it. So anyways, back to the article.
Yeah. Okay. But one of the things that caught my eye about this article was that many people want to save money and take on projects that should be left to people with some skills, especially if it involves the sharp, spinny things like a circular saw, a chainsaw, or maybe a backhoe even. And I looked up some statistics, and here's one that really caught my eye. There are nearly 40,000 circular saw accidents that happen in the United States annually. And 40 of these result in debilitating injuries that can prevent people from returning to work or enjoying a quality of life. I want you to think about that.
40% of 40,000.
16,000 roughly.
Yeah.
Okay. And I say this, and I put this data in here not to discourage anybody, but there's a lot of tools that really look easy to use, but they pose a lot of danger. And I don't discourage you, just get some training from someone before you jump in for the first time, because doing this kind of stuff is really rewarding. The time you spend getting training versus the time you spend in the ER is priceless. Okay,
That's a good one.
yeah. I mean, and look, and I've spent some time in the ER too. Okay, trust me. It's not because of the sharp, spinny things. It's because of just carelessness with stuff. But you can get injured with a screwdriver.
Oh, yeah.
So just get some training, and don't start with electric. If you don't know electric, it can kill you real quick. Okay, so just be careful.
So, yeah, but the fixer-upper I have clients that are looking for fixer-uppers right now because they've inherited some money and they would like to flip them and turn them into rental properties.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really great idea, but they also are very handy, and they have done lots of repairs themselves. So they're going to save themselves a lot of money, not having to hire contractors, which are very expensive, is what I'm hearing from
Yeah.
everybody right now, exorbitantly expensive.
It's Jonathan, you kind of hit the nail on the head a while ago when you said, Chat GPT and YouTube and stuff. That is a great way to go learn. But, these big box stores, they do have some very smart people that work there.
Yes, they're very helpful.
They're very helpful. And if you walk in there and going, hey, here's my sketch. I've got to do this. What do you think? Or I'm trying to put this pipe under my sink and the P-trap and everything. How does this work? Those people will stop and say, this is how you do it.
Sure.
And it's really quite rewarding to go in and do something like that. But take it in baby steps. The lady that redid the chicken coop for her husband for the office, the photo of it before and after was very nice. She did a great job. And when I first saw it, I was like, that thing's going to fall down, but she did a good job. But
pace yourself, get
Yeah.
educated. Don't just jump in without knowing what you're doing.
and make sure that you are allowed to do something because you don't want to build something and the county goes, no, you got to take it down.
Yeah, permits.
Make sure you get the permits. You got to do things right the first time within your county, because I have seen people have to take things down depending on where you live. So got to be careful, do things right. Just do your due diligence. That's really what you got to do, and be safe.
Yep.
We got about 45 seconds. What do you got, Jonathan?
I was just going to say, it sounds like a lot of times these projects end up being close to, if not as expensive as they would have been if you'd have hired it out. But you guys bring about this point of like self-fulfillment.
Yeah.
And it's rewarding. Like, hey, we did this ourselves.
Yes.
And that's pretty cool, part of it.
Well, it can cost as much as doing it yourself, especially if you say, you know what, I'm going to buy this tool and I'll have it forever.
Yeah.
But you can also go rent that tool.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because how often are you going to use something like a tile cutter? You might not use it that often, and it just takes up a lot of room. My neighbor at the lake goes and buys tools like that at the pawn shop. So anyway, we're at the end of the show, and we appreciate everyone being with us and taking time out of the weekend.
Go Dogs.
Yes.
Thanks for listening to Your Money, produced by Lifespan Wealth Management. As financial advisors, the main thing we do is provide retirement planning and advice and manage our clients' investment accounts. If you're looking for a financial advisor, please contact our office at 478-922-8100 to set up a free consultation. You can learn more about us by visiting our website, retirerelax.com. If you have a question or topic you'd like for us to address in a future broadcast, email Randy at rfmoney.com. We look forward to connecting with you next week. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Osaic Wealth Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Osaic Wealth is separately owned, and other entities and or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Osaic Wealth.